Hi everyone, Joe here. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone is okay and coping with all the craziness that we've been going through for the past few weeks. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe, and I do a lot of seasonal decorating videos as well as a bunch of other stuff. So if you're interested in seeing what I do, why don't you check out my video list on my channel? And if it's something you might be interested in, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything that I do. Obviously, I put up more videos when it's a holiday time, but every once in a while I do like to put something up. Today, what my video is going to be about is I was looking around for something to do, and I came across this article that was put out by Redbook concerning 15 design trends or things that we should be doing in our house to make our house look more designer ready. And in my video today, I'm going to go through those 15 checkpoints and see what we've done correctly, or according to the expert who wrote that article, what we did wrong. And I guess I'm pretty sure we probably did a bunch of things wrong. But like everything, you know, it's what makes each one of us happy and comfortable in our own homes. So if it's right for you, it's obviously not wrong. So, but just for fun, let's go through that list and see how I either abided by those rules, should I say, or not. Okay, hold on. Okay, so number one on the list is lighting, and it says it should not be too dim and it should not be too bright. And if you have more earthy tones in your house, you should use the warmer lights, and if you have more metallics, you should use the more white lights. And here's some examples of different lightings. You can see we have the chandelier here, which gives a lot of overhead lighting, and of course it's dimmable, because that's something that's important. You should be able to dim the lights. And then we have the hi-hats or the pot lights all in the ceiling here. Under cabinet lighting is always a great option to for tasks and just for ambiance. Cabinet lighting is always a nice effect. Pendants, lamps, backlighting, like behind that jar there, candlelight, like inside that piece right there, and cabinet lighting. So I guess I have a good variety of lighting. You know, all those different types of light can create different effects during the night. It, you know, makes the house feel warmer. It sets ambiance. And, you know, again, you can have brighter lights or darker lights, but if you only have overhead lights, it kind of gives a more cold feeling to your room. And if you only have lamps around the room, sometimes you might not have enough bright light if you need to, you know, really focus on something in the room. Okay, let's see what's next. The second one is furniture placement, and they suggest to create interest not to push the furniture up against the walls. So here is an example. This is the library here, and it's a kind of a small room. So the chairs are kind of up against the wall, but I angled them and pulled them away a little bit just to create a little bit of interest so that you don't have this, you know, big flat furniture all against your walls. In this room, it's larger here, and so what we did was we kind of have the furniture floating in the room to create a conversation piece. So you see we have the 3 couches and this ottoman for people to sit on, so it makes a nice intimate area to talk when you have people sitting in this room. Here's another angle of the same room. So you see the conversation area and how the furniture is floating. Now, if you have a really large room, they suggest that you do a couple of conversation areas, maybe possibly a larger one for bigger groupings, and then a more intimate one of maybe only 2 seats for a smaller grouping. So try not to push your furniture up against the walls if you don't have to, and you can create interest in a room that way. So number 3 is don't have cluttered spaces. Have a few thought out, well planned spaces so that clutter doesn't weigh the eye down. Now, this area right here, I'm showing you this is because this is a spring vignette that I have here. So I guess someone could consider that cluttered, and it's okay because it's going to come and go. It's just for spring. Whereas here on this table, I have a few thought out pieces so that it's easier to clean and dust. And even here on the bookcase, thought out how I place the books, like things together, some pictures here and there, but not overly cluttered and crowded because it quickly becomes visual distraction and all you see is a bunch of stuff rather than individual things. So you want to think about not putting so many things out and only putting things that your eye can travel from place to place and not just see as a big mess. The next thing has to do with color. Even in an all-white modern farmhouse, it's nice to have pops of color. You might want to have some pillows that are just a pop of color, maybe yellow or green for the spring, or burgundies and darker colors for the fall, and so on. Color is really important. We do have antique white walls, but what we did was here and there we do have an accent wall. So you can see in the family room here, in the background there, we have a chocolate brown wall, whereas the rest of the room is an antique white. And that's great because the television plays off of that, and it also gives a focal point. The fireplace is there as well as the TV. All right, this room here in the dining room, we did choose a color. We used a cocoa brown, and the walls are stenciled. And again, it gives a nice warm feeling, and you want it to be inviting and not stark when people are gathering around the table, when we're allowed to do that again, and eat and talk and have a good time. Here's another example of a focal wall in one of the guest bedrooms here. What I did was I chose to just do a color behind the headboard. So you see it's a really high headboard, and then I just continued up into the ceiling with the gold color that's very prevalent in this room. In this room, because I have this weird angle on the bed, actually have the bed in the corner of the room, I painted just by the windows over there a focal point. So again, as you come into the room, the bed is, in the corner, and it all pulls it together by having that pink wall with the striping on it that mimics what the blanket on the bed is. And then sometimes it's just nice to go dark. Like in our bathroom, we have these deep gray walls, and in the adjoining bedroom, we have a lighter shade of the gray. Okay, so the next one is the one that we have a little bit of trouble with, and it says, don't be so matchy-matchy and don't be so symmetrical. Well, we like matchy-matchy and we like symmetry, and especially since so many of our rooms are very symmetrical. So here you see we have the fireplace there with the 2 symmetrical windows, and because of that, we built the room off of that symmetry. So we have those tables there. I mean, the 2 vases that are there are different in shape, but they're the same style. But you see then the 2 couches, and then the couch, and so on, the 2 tables and whatnot. So, the symmetry is something that we really like. And a lot of times if I do something asymmetrical, I think it kind of throws Marianne. Marianne is my wife, for those of you that don't know me. Kind of throws her in a loop, and she really doesn't like it. So we just continue with our symmetry. Again, another example, the fireplace is centered on that wall. So as a result, again, I set up a very symmetrical room here. Now, I have had this room in an asymmetrical pattern with furniture placement in different areas. It just doesn't feel right. So again, if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. It's what you do. But it is suggested that you don't be so symmetrical and don't be matchy-matchy. You want the room to have an organic flow, which means that your eye moves around the room from different pieces in different areas of the room so that it doesn't give a very sterile, boring kind of a look. Next is scale and proportion of your furniture. You want to measure your room, and then you want to make sure that your furniture that you are going to buy is going to fit in. So the dining room is rather large, and you can see we have a table in here with 8 chairs. We have a sidebar, the china closet, and we also have another piece of furniture down this end over here. Now, this room, we've had this table extended to actually have 22 people in a room. We knew what we wanted and the size that we wanted. But we measured carefully to make sure that the furniture was not going to overtake the room. As well as with this furniture, this room, this formal living room, I think is about 14 by 16. So it's not overly large. So we didn't want furniture that was going to overpower the room. Sometimes what happens is you get really huge furniture, and it looks like, somebody comes in the room and all they can look at is that big piece of furniture. And then sometimes people go for things that are too tiny, and then it looks like you're trying to fit dollhouse furniture into rooms. So measure out your room, measure out the furniture, make a graph, and try to place your furniture in the room to make sure it is what you want it to look like. Once again, in this room with these couches here, what happened was, we knew what we wanted it to look like, so we kept measuring the distance of the walls because there's a lot of openings in this room, and we didn't want the couches to go over into those other openings. So we tried to figure out exactly the size that we needed in order to be able to move around comfortably and it not be cluttered. Now you can see the space right there between those two couches. That's about a 2-foot space. So it's suggested that if it's a heavy traffic area, which that isn't, a heavy traffic area should be at least 3 feet, 36 inches. A more minimal traffic area can be 2 feet, and area around the coffee table can be only 18 inches. So think about all those things when you're going to purchase furniture. Next is drape height. So they suggest that you put the drapes as high to the ceiling as you possibly can to bring the eye up. Now, I'm showing you this room because obviously it has a cathedral ceiling in here, and I could have put the rod all the way up at the top, but I chose not to do that. But actually what I did do is I made the rod wider than the window. Where you see the light coming through the window, that's actually the only size of the window. So what I did was I extended on the sides to make the window look larger. So I don't think there's one place in this house that I actually did the window treatments all the way up against the ceiling, because I did some specialty things. Like here I built these cornices for these curtains. So yeah, I just went through the whole house. We don't have any of them up against the ceiling. At the beach house, if you saw that video, I did raise the rods up, but here I did not. And they're fine. I mean, we have high ceilings as it is already, and I don't know, it's okay. I mean, I like them all the way up on the top, but since we have like these circle tops and we have other things that I'll show you a little bit later. It just wasn't necessary for us. But it is suggested that you raise those rods all the way up and you make a nice, it'll bring the eye up and it'll make the room appear taller. Okay, so the next one is how you hang your artwork. And this one always drives me crazy when people hang their artwork, up against the ceiling, because how are you supposed to look at it? It's really, really tall. I don't know why. I guess if that appeals to you, that's fine. But actually, if it was a little bit lower, you would be able to see it better. It is suggested behind a couch to have at least 5 or 6 inch clearance only for your artwork to hang above. Larger pieces can hang alone and smaller pieces can be grouped together. But the rule of thumb for that, according to Redbook, is that centerpiece, like you see right underneath that, that elongated picture, that should be about 5 feet off the ground. And then all your pictures should radiate out from that point. And each one of the pictures should be about 2 inches apart from each other to make the grouping seem more cohesive. So I did get that about a 5'2" height in the middle of my grouping right here, but obviously you see that it is more than 2 inches, but I had a bigger wall here and not so many pictures. Okay, it's also suggested that your artwork should be about the level of the top third of the artwork is where your eyes should be. So obviously you have to adjust it. If you're really short, you don't want your artwork to be on the floor. And if you're really tall, then it's going to be up high again, like they're suggesting it not to be. So you just want it to be at a comfortable height so that when people are passing by, they can actually see it, that it's not too high and it's not too low. So use your judgment, stand back, just don't go crazy with your hammer and your nails. Put a little piece of tape there, painter's tape, and take a look at where the top of that picture would be and stand back and make sure that it is kind of like an art gallery or a museum. When you go to an art gallery, you're not looking up, up on top of the ceiling for the pictures. So think about that. Area rugs. They shouldn't be too small in a space, because what they say is that if your area rug is undersized, it'll draw your eye in and make the room appear smaller. So technically speaking, according to Redbook, this area rug is too small because it should extend underneath each one of these couches. But I really like this rug, and so I really don't care. This is what works well for me, and this is what I like. As well as this area rug in the library, which would also be considered too small. But again, this is kind of a high walking area for Marianne and myself, because you turn down the other end over there to go into another part of the house. So didn't want a big rug. And actually, when I see Marianne passing, most times I'll see her walking on the floor rather than on the rug, and I do probably the same thing. So once again, technically speaking, too small, but for us, this is what functions. Now, the area rug under the dining room table, you can see, is much larger. So what you want to do here, especially under a table, is you want to make sure that when you pull the chair off, out for somebody to sit, that the chair is still on the rug. Because otherwise what would happen is, the front part of the legs would be on the rug and the back part of the legs would be off the rug, and it would cause the person to be uncomfortable and crooked. So that would be a little bit dangerous. So, here, bigger rug because it functions correctly for the table. Okay, so we're at number 10 already, and number 10, they're talking about lighting again, because lighting is really, really important. And they're saying, again, exclusive overhead lighting is not suggested. combine all the different types of lighting that you can to create a mood in your house. Like in the foyer here, especially, this is a big space and it's really high. The ceilings are like 24 feet in here. So we have the main chandelier, but then we have a lot of the hi-hats up on top. And then up on top of, we have these closets on each side of the front door. And up there, I have up lighting behind, the stuff that we have up there. And we have down lighting coming down on it as well. So, it can create a different kind of ambiance. A lot of times when somebody, would come, we might have the main chandelier on, and then once we move into another part of the house, shut the main chandelier off, and then all those, the lighting above and the lighting from below kind of creates, this a nice, comfortable ambiance that the room doesn't seem cold and calculating or so dark that, somebody's, not going to be able to see around. So think about your combination of lighting. Okay, so number 11 is paint color. Now we discussed already, to infuse color into your house so that it doesn't seem so sterile. Some people enjoy a lot of color. They love color, different colors in every single room, and that's great. But what they're saying is don't choose your paint color first. What you need to do is you need to pick an inspirational piece that you have in your room. Maybe the rug, maybe pillows, maybe the curtains, something in there that you really like, and then coordinate the paint with that. And then what you should do is you can go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or your favorite paint store like that, and then just don't get one swatch of that particular color you like. Get it in 3 different colors. The color you like, maybe a lighter and a darker, and then you can get those little samples made. I think in Home Depot they cost around $3 or so. And then what you will be able to do is come home and make a sample board, put it in the room, and see how it interacts with the daylight, with the nighttime, and with all your different kinds of lighting. So don't pick your paint color first. Use an inspirational piece in order to do that. The next one is infuse personal touches like this. This was a DIY project. That's actually a part of a lamp from my mother and father that I redid into candlesticks. Pictures of memorable moments. Family pictures. Things that are personal, like I like The Wizard of Oz, so there you go. Something that makes your house a home that makes you feel comfortable. Don't ignore the little details that add up to things that are very important, like doorknobs and hinges and strike plates all matching one another. Chair rail molding or box molding. And by the way, I did all of these and it's a pain, but you know what? It looks nice once you have it done. Again, the lower box molding, the chair railing, and the upper box molding. The backsplash in the kitchen. Here we use subway tile and this neat tile right here that we went crazy for. Cabinet hardware that matches your theme. Your appliances should all have the same kind of handles, like on your refrigerator. The dishwasher. The oven. On top of these windows, I created that top molding. I grew up in a house that was built in, my grandparents came from Italy in 1920s. And the house was probably built around 1918 or 19, and it had all of these kind of moldings up on top of the windows, and I tried to recreate those so to give the house character. Crown molding, expensive, but very nice and worth it. Again, I did all that work, and it's hard to do, but it's doable. Blingy vanity handles to match a blinged doorknob. tile and moldings in the bathroom. And last but not least, design over function, question mark. Be honest with yourself on how you live and how you function. What kind of family do you have? Do you have little children? Do you have teenagers? Do you have pets? So what you have to think about is function. Like, you might want to have all white furniture and all white rugs and everything white, and you have you have a husky, and you'd be full of hair all the time. If you don't mind picking up that hair and doing all that work, that's great. Or if you have little kids that like to draw on things, you might not want to have everything that's white like that. So you have to think about how you want to live and how it actually functions. Obviously, especially for those of us that like to watch these kind of videos, we like to think of your house being magazine ready, but to be honest with you, it can't always be magazine ready, because you wouldn't be able to move around your house or do anything normal. So you want to have it at a point where it's as magazine ready as you can possibly be to be happy with yourself, and easily straightened out so that it can look magazine ready in a very short period of time. But the most important thing is you have to decide, how you're going to live and how you're going to be happy. Okay, everybody, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by. Give me a thumbs up if you find this useful. Drop me a comment. I like hearing from you. And like I said before, I hope everybody's doing okay, especially during this very crazy time that's still very crazy. We're going to try to make the best of it, and hopefully we're going to come out on the other side of it stronger. So look for my next video coming up soon. Very soon I'll be putting something up, I hope. I'm going to start taking down the spring stuff and transitioning into a more cleaner line for summer. Okay, everybody, take care. It was great seeing you. Bye-bye.